ever thought about like what it really means to be educated?
Mm.
I mean, it's got to be more than just, having a bunch of degrees, right?
Yeah.
So we're going deep on that today with philosopher Michael Pring.
Oh, this is going to be good. Pring really challenges like all those assumptions about grades and
He
careers.
does. Get this. He starts off with this story about a school principal, a woman who actually survived the Holocaust.
Wow.
And it makes you think, if the people running those camps were educated, I mean, what does that even mean, right?
That is such a powerful example, and Pring uses it to argue that education can't just be about knowledge. We need like a moral dimension too. It's about being a better person, not just a more skilled worker.
So true. Which I was thinking, how do you actually teach someone to be good? But then he talks about this time he was talking to a class of students from, underprivileged backgrounds and how telling them to become doctors and lawyers felt, I don't know, kind of out of touch.
Yeah, those traditional measures of success, they don't resonate with everyone. And that's a big part of what Pring is critiquing. We've reduced education to just these like measurable outcomes. Test scores, jobs, that's it. What about nurturing individual potential, right? No matter what path someone wants to take.
Okay, so if it's not about, like, checking boxes and climbing ladders, what's Pring's alternative?
Well, he draws on another philosopher, Michael Oakeshott, who called education a conversation between generations.
Hmm, I like that. It's like we're all part of this ongoing dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Taking wisdom from those who came before us. But how's that actually work in practice?
Well, think about it. Literature, art, even science, they're not just subjects, but ways of understanding ourselves and the world, right? It's about sparking those aha
Well,
moments
yeah.
of
It
connection.
makes me think about how we separate academic and vocational. Like they're totally different. Pring's not down with that either, huh?
No, not at all. He talks about the value of craft, of trades, of finding meaning in your work, whatever that work may be. And that ties into being educated.
So it's less about what you know and more about how you live.
In a way, yeah. And part of that for Pring is cultivating care.
Well,
For ourselves, for others. He even talks about this school in a poverty-stricken area. Their whole approach is built around this idea of care.
okay, now I got to hear more about this school. So tell me about this school. How do you even teach care? Like, does that even work?
Well, they've created what philosopher Nell Noddings calls a community of care. It's this environment where everyone feels, seen, heard, valued. And it's clearly having a big impact on the students, especially since a lot of them are dealing with some really tough stuff outside of school.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like saying, hey, we see you, we care about you, you belong here.
Yeah.
Which is huge for any
Right.
kid, right? But especially for those who might not be getting that message anywhere else.
Totally. And this is where Pring's argument kind of pushes the boundaries of how we see education, He's saying schools can't do this alone. We need a wider community of care, one that goes way beyond the classroom. Families, businesses, universities, everyone, to really support young people.
It takes a village. You can't just expect teachers to, like, wave a magic wand and fix all of society's problems, right? But I'm curious, how does this community of care connect back to that conversation between generations idea, the one we were talking about earlier?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it gets at the core of what Pring's saying. Remember that story he tells about Luke Delmage, that teacher, brilliant guy, but oh man, totally out of touch.
Yeah. Total whiz kid, knew his stuff, but connecting with students, not so much.
Yeah.
What about that story stood out to you?
Well, it shows how you can have all the knowledge in the world, right? But if you can't communicate it, if you can't make it real for other people, are you really educated? Pring's using this funny story, right, to highlight how important the teacher is. They're like a facilitator in that conversation between generations, building those bridges between the big ideas and the real lives of their students.
It's almost like being a translator, right? You're taking these abstract concepts and making them click for these students.
Exactly. And that's where Pring's 10 suggestions for educators are so important. Questioning what it means to be educated, seeing the potential in every single learner, moving past memorization to a deeper understanding of things.
So it's not just what we teach, it's how we teach it. Fostering that love of learning, that natural curiosity we're all born with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Critical thinking, problem solving, that sense of wonder. Stuff that matters way beyond school, right?
And honestly, those are qualities that, as adults, we can lose sight of.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in the daily grind, we forget to be curious, to keep asking questions, to keep learning. Which brings us back to Pring's big question. What does it mean to be an educated person?
And that's something we all have to figure out, no matter how old we are, what we do for a living. It's a journey, not a destination.
It's easy to think, okay, I'm done with school, got the job, no more learning for me.
Right.
But Pring's saying it's not something you just like check off your list, right? It's how you live your life.
It really is. And a huge part of that is like embracing that we're lifelong learners, always looking for new knowledge, new experiences, new ways of seeing things,
Yeah.
just staying curious about the world.
Which I get,
Mm.
because it's that curiosity, wanting to learn and grow, it keeps us going, don't you think?
Absolutely.
But it's not just about like hoarding knowledge for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Pring's big on this.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility that comes with being educated.
Exactly. It's not enough to just have knowledge. We've got to use it to make things better. Like with that care we were talking about,
Yeah.
not just in our personal lives, but in everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
Work, our communities, how we treat each other.
So it's asking, how can I actually use what I know to make a difference, to build that community of care that Pring talks about?
Now you're thinking. And here's something to chew on as we wrap up this deep dive. What does Pring's vision of education mean for you? Like what really clicked with you today? How can you put these ideas into action, whether you're still in school or it's been years?
That's a great question to leave us with, because we all have the power to shape our own education, and in doing that, shape the world around us. It's a journey, for sure.
Mm,
Growth, connection, really making a difference.
beautifully said.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, everyone, keep those brains buzzing, keep asking questions, and keep on learning.